Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Harrington, the theater editor at the New York Times, and I am so delighted to welcome you all to the Times Center. Across the Times newsroom, we have spent the last 2 years bringing our journalism to readers around the world in virtual events. And those of us who cover theater have also spent those last 2 years reporting the story of an entire industry coming to a near total shutdown, and now reopening and trying to find its way back forward again. We don't like cliches here at the Times, but it's true that Broadway's reopening season has been like none other. So we are thrilled to come together again today to enjoy songs and conversations with the amazing artists from some of this season's Tony-nominated musicals. And I am very happy to welcome not only our virtual audience, but also our in-person audience here in the Times Center. And that audience includes New York City public school students and Times subscribers. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you to everyone joining us virtually from around the world. I also just wanted to thank a couple of people, our colleagues on the events team, as well as our producers, Rachel Karp and Beth Weinstein, for collaborating with us to bring this event to life. I also wanted to give a little shout out to our Deputy Arts and Leisure Editor, Scott Heller. Yes, Scott. So now let's enjoy some great songs, shall we? I'm going to welcome to the stage our theater reporter, Michael Paulson.
Hi. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I'm Michael Paulson. I cover theater here. And just to answer the question that everyone asks, yes, they pay me to go to theater. But I write stories. I'm not a critic. I write stories, news and features about the industry and the art form. And I'm so glad that to be here today. I'm so glad that we have these incredible artists waiting just outside that door who are going to tell you a little about what they do and also show you. And I'm really glad that you're all here because obviously it's been a while since we've been able to be together, and it's so great to see so many people who love theater. So I am going to take my seat and we are going to start today's event. You're going to hear from all 6 shows that are nominated for Best Musical in the Tony Awards. And you're also going to hear from one of the shows nominated for Best Musical Revival. So our first show is MJ. MJ, yep. MJ is a biomusical about Michael Jackson. The production is set in 1992 in Los Angeles, where Michael Jackson is in the final stages of rehearsing for the Dangerous World Tour. Joining us now is that show's star, Tony nominee Miles Frost. He's going to perform Stranger in Moscow, a special arrangement of that song by the show's music director, Jason Michael Webb. So give him a big round of applause.
How y'all feeling? I said, how y'all feeling? Yeah. Oh, okay. We in here. Thank you all so very much for coming out, and we really appreciate it. And without further ado. I was wandering in the rain, mask of life feeling insane, swift and sudden fall from grace, sunny days seem far away, crimson shadow belittling me, Stalin's tomb won't let me be, wish the rain would just let me be. How does it feel? How does it feel when you're alone and you're cold inside? Here abandoning my fame, Armageddon of the brain. KGB was stalking me, taking my name and just let me be. Then a bigger boy called my name. Sunny days will drown the pain. On and on and on, it came and again and again. How does it feel now? How does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel now? How does it feel when you're alone and you're cold inside? Like a stranger in Moscow, Lord have mercy. Like a stranger in Moscow, Lord have mercy. We're talking danger. We're talking danger, baby. Like a stranger in Moscow. Yeah. I'm living lonely. I'm living lonely, baby. Like a stranger in Moscow. Like a stranger in Moscow. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Is that yours?
Man. Thank you. Stand up. Well, I just want to take a moment to just express how amazing this orchestra is. And I want to read off their names. First of all, the conductor and music director, Jason Michael Webb, who's amazing, plays the show with me every night. We got Belinda Whitney on violin, Tally Bernfeld on violin, Paul Waddell on violin, Melissa Tong on violin, Richard Bryce on viola, Jocelyn Pan on viola, Carolyn Peisner on cello, Niles Luther on cello, and my girl Alex Nolan on guitar. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Those are quite the shoes, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So you're 22 years old?
Yes.
This is your first Broadway show. You dropped out of college or took a break from college to do this, and now you're playing Michael Jackson. What like goes through your head when you try to slip into that character?
I'm very humble. You know, it's humbling to be able to do this and represent such an icon and get the response that I get from it. You know, it means a lot to me. So getting into that mode I'm coming from a very grateful standpoint, an appreciative standpoint, and it just gives me the energy to keep going, especially with now the reception that I'm getting from it. I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing something right.
So this is obviously, you've come to Broadway during an especially bumpy season. This show's only been running since December, and you yourself have had COVID twice.
Yes.
Twice. The show had to shut down over Christmas because so many members of the company were testing positive, like a lot of others. Mm-hmm. What are some of the complications of working in this environment?
The bounce back. You know, having COVID twice is no joke, especially on your voice. You know, and try to come back, do 2 shows. My first day coming back from the second time I had COVID, I tried to do 2 shows the day I came back. Got through the first one, but then my body said no midway through the second one. and it happens. So it messes with you mentally because you're like, oh my God, did something happen? Can I still do this? And you just got to give your body some grace, because my mind is, I can do it. I'm fine. I'll be all right, but you got to make sure that you don't push yourself too hard, because your body will remind you that it's a body and that you are, and that you're human and you got to take your time. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So the song we just heard you sing, Stranger in Moscow, was released at a pretty hard time in Michael Jackson's life.
Yes.
He had been accused of abuse. He was feeling wronged by the news media. It's often described as a song about loneliness and isolation. Mm-hmm. How do you connect with the emotions in the song?
They come from a real place. First of all, like what I do on stage is not acting, it's being. I'm very clear and I'm very present during all of those scenes. So with this song in particular, with the mother I have, my mom was like, you're gonna be somebody, so you can't do what everybody else can do, and it kind of made me think, okay, well, like, why can't I be with, hang with these friends and, do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I couldn't play football, I wanted to box. My mom was like, nah, you're gonna mess your face up, I don't want you to mess nothing up, because you're gonna be playing Michael Jackson on Broadway, right, but, reaching from those places where I did feel like I couldn't, really connect with people in the way that I wanted to and felt kind of isolated, and that's why I'm just blessed to have an abundance of people who care about me, a cast that cares about me, and who I care for.
You mentioned your mom. I know you were raised by your mom and grandmom. Yes. Can you talk a little about their role in your life?
Oh, raised by two very, very strong black women. Oh, yeah. And I think the biggest thing that they've taught me was, one, how to stand up for myself, and two, how to treat people. You treat people how you want to be treated, and that's so simple, but somehow it gets overlooked all the time. People forget that the energy that you put out is the energy that you get back. That's why I go through this whole process with no problem saying, like, I don't feel like I deserve, this. Even being aware of the talent that I have, because, this wasn't my dream. I wanted to be a music artist. I wanted to be, I still do, but the fact that I'm here, I'm so grateful and appreciative, and I understand, and I'm humble. I'm happy, but I'm humble most of all.
You and I have talked a few times about your sense that when people come into this show, they have a variety of strong opinions about Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. What do you want people to take away from your performance about Michael Jackson?
Understanding that we're all human. What Lynn has done is very beautiful, because I think it humanizes Michael. It shows that he faces real people problems, financially, emotionally, family. We all got people we all got crazy families. No matter how you try to present it on, Instagram or whatever, like, we all got somebody in our family that we know, and it just shows that Michael is the same way. And I want people to feel warm. I want people to feel that nostalgia, for people who have been blessed to see Michael when he was alive. I didn't get that opportunity. I want to inspire children who Michael, since they've been born, Michael's never been alive. To see them dressed out in Billie Jean outfits and Beat It jackets and Thriller jackets, I had a prime example. I had a father, it was just 2 shows ago, I had a father pull me aside after the show, and he said, my daughter said something very interesting. His daughter was 6. During intermission, she said, Dad, I thought Michael Jackson was dead. So, yeah. But I say that not to brag on myself, but I say that to say that, kids are really are being inspired by this, and, this is what I do this for.
Great. Well, congratulations on the performance, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. You having a good time? Yeah? All right, next up is Girl from the North Country, which is a fictional story about a group of down-on-their-luck Midwesterners whose lives intersect in 1934 in the midst of the Great Depression at a boarding house in Duluth, Minnesota. Duluth is not a random setting for this show. It's the birthplace of the great American singer-songwriter Bob Dylan, and the show's score is made up entirely of his songs, including the one we're about to hear, which is called Hurricane. Please join me in welcoming Austin Scott, joined by cast members Matthew Frederick Harris, Huso Simon, John Schiappa, Rachel Stern, Bob Walton, Chelsea Lee Williams, and Chiara Trentolone.
Pistol shots ring out in the barroom night. Enter Patty Valentine from the upper hall. She sees the bartender in a pool of blood. Cries out, my God, they've killed them all.
Here comes the story of a hurricane. The man the authorities came to blame
for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. Three bodies lying there as Patty see, and another man named Bello moving around mysteriously. I didn't do what he says, and he throws up his hands. I was only robbing the register. I hope you understand.
I saw them leaving, he says, and he stops. One of us had better call up the cops.
And so Patty calls the cops, and they arrive on the scene with their red lights flashing in the hot New Jersey night. All along the watchtower, princes kept the view. All the women came and went, barefoot servants too. Outside in the distance, a wildcat did growl. Two riders approaching, oh, the wind began to howl.
When a cop pulled him over to the side of the road, just like the time before that.
And Patterson, that's just the way things go. If you're black, you might as well not show up on the street. Yes, you want to draw the heat. Thank you so much. Please keep it going for our fantastic accompanists. We have Marco Paglia on piano, Martha McDonald on violin. Thank you all so much.
Hi. Good, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Great. So Girl from the North Country opened just a week before theaters shut down in March of 2020.
That's true.
Restarted last fall, shut down again in January because of Omicron, restarted a third time in April.
That's got to be a record, right?
It's got to be a record. How do you stay in it emotionally, physically, and vocally through all those ups and downs?
I mean, one, it's just such an incredible group of artists. I mean, on stage and off stage, we are just a family, and we show up for each other every single time. And also, every time something happens and we leave and we get to come back to it, we get to bring everything that we learned, in the time off. everything that we experience back to the show. So it just keeps getting richer and deeper and deeper. So in a way, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. So the song that you just sang, Hurricane, was written as a protest song by Bob Dylan about a real boxer, Reuben Hurricane Carter, who was wrongly convicted of murder. In the show, you play a one-time boxer who has just escaped from prison. Tell me about how this song...
Well, did he? We don't know.
Well, I don't know. Okay. Maybe. So tell me about how this song works for your character and for you.
Yeah, so when I get to sing the song in the show, it's in the middle of the second act, so actually you've gotten to see a lot of my arc already unfold. And when you first see me, I really have no idea what I'm doing next. You know, I'm just kind of, I'm dirty, I'm without a home, I'm just kind of rolling into this boarding house. And by the time you see me in this show, I've found myself a little bit more. I've started to get my feet underneath me. And I think this thing that I've been carrying with me the whole time just kind of bursts out, and I tell this story. And it's been a privilege to get to tell this story, his story, and Reuben Carter's story, you know, in a way through this character, because it's so resonant with what we're going through right now, especially in 2020 with George Floyd and everything like that. I brought all of that anger and all of that to this song, and you know, it's just a privilege to get to tell that story.
Yeah. So was Bob Dylan like on your iPod, or did you encounter his music for the first
My
time?
iPod shuffle back in the day.
Yeah, like, I mean, were you a Dylan fan, or did you just like audition for this? What's your relationship to his music, and what have you learned about it by doing this show?
You know, I'm afraid most of Dylan's music I didn't realize was Dylan's music. Like, I knew, you know, Make You Feel My Love. I was like, that's a dope Adele song. I love that song. You know, it's so good. And so I've just kind of slowly started to, you know, come to realize how much of his music I know, but I didn't know was his. You know, he's so prolific and such an excellent writer.
So in a lot of musicals, songs give the audience information about the plot or characters. They work a little bit differently in this show. Can you talk about the role of music in this show?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the character, but I think Jeanette Bayardell, who's in our cast, I should say Tony-nominated Jeanette Bayardell. Yeah, give it up for her. Phenomenal. I think she described it as, you know, kind of this beautiful painting or tapestry of you know, humanity, and it's like you're getting to watch all of these people's lives unfold while you got like a dope Bob Dylan record playing in the background. You know what I mean? And it's kind of, that's how it is. It's the songs don't necessarily move the story forward or the narrative forward, but they kind of serve as a soundtrack, almost like an emotional soundtrack to the moments that are happening on stage in their lives. And it's really beautiful. Except with my character, it's a little more literal most of the time, you know. So I would, you know, in rehearsal, our director, Connor McPherson, Tony-nominated Connor McPherson, I got to do it every time. You know, he would say, you know, yeah, y'all just kind of, you know, sing it as yourself. You know, it's Jeanette singing the song, or it's, you know, it's Mary singing the song. Except you, Austin, you got to sing as the character. It's like you got to do a little more work. But it was fun.
Yeah. So you spent several years starring in Hamilton, both on the road and on Broadway, which of course is a huge juggernaut. Now you're in a much smaller, intimate show. Some nights there are huge crowds, sometimes not. How does that like affect your performance and you?
Yeah, I mean, doing Hamilton, it was like a rock concert, right? I mean, you know, the energy was just so intense every single night, and that was really fun. And coming to do this, it's much more intimate. It's much more, you know, pared down. And I think at first I was a little thrown off because I was like, oh, they're not bursting into applause, they're not laughing, you know, super hard stuff. They must not be into it. But I started to realize, no, they're so into it that they're silent. You know, there's almost like a reverence in it, just like, you know, being glued to it. And not that didn't happen in Hamilton, but it's I feel really privileged to get to kind of experience those two things back to back, you know, and just see the breadth of storytelling and audience response, and, you know, just doing this thing that I love.
Yeah. Speaking of doing the thing that you love, we have a number of high school and college students in the audience tonight.
What's up, y'all?
What kind of advice do you have for people who might be thinking about wishing they could find a home in this world?
Yeah. I think some advice I would give my high school self would be kind of just, you know, keep your eyes on your own paper. and know that, you know, everyone, there's a season, there's a time, everyone has different timelines, and, you know, try not to focus so much on what that person's doing and how fast it's happening for them and all that, and just kind of trust in the process and just do the thing because you love it, you know, and just trust that it'll come in time when the time is right.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. The new musical Six, apparently some of you have heard of it, already a hit in London before it arrived on Broadway. It offers a revisionist take on British history, imagining a singing competition in which the ill-fated wives of Henry VIII regale one another and us with catchy tunes about their terrible marriages. So wife number 3 was Jane Seymour, who died after giving birth to the male heir Henry had wanted. And today we're going to hear a new arrangement of her ballad called Heart of Stone, performed by Kirsten Nicole Hodgins, Courtney Mack, and Mallory Medke.
And please give a warm welcome to our music director, Julia Shady. You've got a good heart, but I know it changes. A restless tide, untamable. You came my way and I knew a storm could come too. You'd lift me high or let me fall. But I took your hand and promised I'd withstand any blaze you blew my way. 'Cause something inside it solidified, and I knew I'd always stay. You can build me up, you can tear me down. You can try, but I'm unbreakable. You can do your best, but I'll stand the test. You'll find that I'm unshakable. When the fires burn, when the wind has blown, when the water's dry, you'll still find stone. My heart of stone. You say we're perfect, a perfect family. You hold us close for the world to see. And when I say you're the only one I've ever loved, I mean those words truthfully. Without my son, your love could disappear. And no, it isn't fair, but I don't care, 'cause my love will still be here. You can build me up, you can tear me down. You can try, but I'm unbreakable. You can do your best, but I'll stand the test. You'll find that I'm unshakable. When the fires burn, the wind has blown, the water's dry, you'll still find stone. You'll still find stone. My heart of stone. Soon I'll have have to go. I'll never see him grow. But I hope my son will know he'll never, never be alone. 'Cause like a river runs dry and leaves its scars behind, I'll be by your side, 'cause my love is set in stone. You can build me up, you can tear me down, you can try, but I'm unbreakable. You can do your best, but I'll stand the test. You'll find that I'm unshakable. The fire's burned, the wind has blown, the water's dried, you'll still find stone. Oh, yeah, my heart of stone. You can break me, stone. You can do your best, but I'll stand the test. Can't break me, stone. The fire's burned, the water's dried, you'll still find stone. My heart of stone.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So one of the themes of this theater season has been what we've come to think of as heroism of understudies and covers and standbys and everybody else who has had to go on to keep a show going when someone or a bunch of someones has tested positive for COVID. You're all alternates in the Broadway cast of 6, and and as I understand it, each of you covers 3 roles.
Yes.
How do you keep all the different dance moves and the personalities straight in your head?
It's a good question.
That's a very good question.
I just think we keep like telling ourselves like today I'm Aragon or today I'm Seymour. We just have to like keep reminding ourselves day by day.
Yeah, I just, before I go in, I say, okay, what happened to me today? Oh, I died.
Yeah.
I was the survivor. Tomorrow, I'm going to be the survivor tomorrow. You know, I just say I died, I survived, or, you know, beheaded, whatever it is.
So,
Yeah.
Kirsten, you're based here in New York, but you had to go to Chicago on a moment's notice when the tour was about to open there. One of the principals got sick. Tell us about that experience.
Yes, it's Kirsten.
Kirsten, sorry.
And no worries, but I got a call. I believe it was on a Saturday. I literally woke up, wiped the crust out my eyes, and you know, hello. How do you feel about flying to Chicago? Well, it was like, could you fly tonight? Maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday. We don't know. And I was like, it was a lot to comprehend. You know what I mean? I was like, yes, at this point, like you said, we do so much, and like on a whim when people, you know, like get COVID and stuff. So I've gotten to the point where I just like kind of just say yes and just go wherever it takes me. But yeah, I ended up leaving that Monday and then was in the show the next day.
Wow. So never knowing who you're going to play has to lead to some unexpected hiccups. Can you share any moments when things didn't go as planned, like, and talk about how you recovered?
They got some fun ones.
Like, there's so many.
I mean, I don't know. We do like, I mean, if we're going like back and forth all the time, like I've had days where I'm Howard one day and then I'm Boleyn the next and then I'm back to Howard. So then I keep like flip-flopping and the dance moves are like
Mirrored.
mirrored. So like, there's times where you sneak in some weird
Yeah.
arm movements and whatnot, and then you think about it for the rest of the show. It's just
Right.
it eats at you. But I've actually had to go on mid-show before, which is like really hard to do in this show because there is no intermission, and that's like the most psychotic thing to go through. 'Cause you don't even expect it.
So you're sitting backstage, somebody's not feeling well, they
Yeah.
tap you on the shoulder, get into costume, run on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
I
we're
would
like
just
running
like
to get
to
makeup
say-
brushes. We're like, what lines do you need us to do right now while she's
So-
getting ready?
You know, and listen, we do our jobs and we do run the show. But this particular day, Courtney was knitting. Courtney had her legs up with her blanket up and was just knitting, and then they come in and just chaos. She was just, poor lady was just trying to relax.
Yeah. I forgot she was knitting. Yeah.
So, Six has become this huge phenomenon, thanks in large part to this youthful fan base that you guys call the Queendom. Can you talk about why you think this show has caught on so much, especially with young women in particular, and how that affects the experience of working in the show?
I mean, to see a full cast of women and also a full band. Every person in our show is female identifying, and when do we ever get to see that? It's like the first experience. And also to have a cast of BIPOC actors, it's amazing. I mean, I think everyone can see themselves on stage, which is the most important thing. And I feel like all of us as humans also felt a change in ourselves. Like I feel like we all have more empowered voices because of doing this show. And yeah, I mean, it's just so much fun. It's just a blast.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm going to ask you the question that I asked Austin. What kind of wisdom do you have for students in the audience who might be interested in some kind of career in the arts?
Perform for yourself and for no one else. That is something that I've had to learn just growing up in this industry. And I think when you do that, you just have so much more fun. And rejection will be easier because of that. Because at the end of the day, you're doing this for you and to make you happy. And yeah, I just think that that's really important.
Yes. Right? Yes.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. I think my biggest piece of advice would be to trust your gut and to trust your instinct. There's a lot of push and pull in this industry, especially students, when you have showcases and things like that, you'll have professors, well, for me, it was like, oh, well, we think you should go to New York, or we think you should go here, we think you should go there. Like, really trust. And even when it comes to like what you want to do, what career path, whether you want to do, acting, musical theater, whatever it may be, just to trust your gut and believe in yourself, because you have a lot more power than maybe you may think sometimes. So just stand up for yourself.
You want the last word?
Sure. I would say never give up if it's something that you're really wanting, if you want to pursue this. There's been so many times where in like college and throughout my career thus far where I've, called my parents just sobbing, being like, why did I do this? But, I never gave up and I persisted, and, you really do have to have thick skin to be in this business. So it's just the mindset of keep going, keep climbing the ladder, and it might be a zigzag ladder. It's not going to take you all the way up, but, just keep going.
Yeah. Great. Well, Courtney, Mallory, Kirsten, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, you guys.
All right, our next show is a new musical called A Strange Loop. The Pulitzer-writing author of A Strange Loop is with us in the audience, so welcome. Michael R. Jackson. Strange Loop is a little bit harder to describe than some of the other shows, but here goes. It's a musical about a gay black musical theater writer trying to write a musical about a gay black musical theater writer trying to write a musical about a gay black music. You get the idea. And he's doing this while haunted by a kind of discouraging inner dialogue brought to life by 6 actors playing his thoughts. We are joined tonight by the show's Tony-nominated star, Jaquel Spivey. Along with, he's joined by Tony nominees John Andrew Morrison, L. Morgan Lee, as well as Antoine Hopper, James Jackson Jr., John Michael Lyles, and Jason Veazey. Frustrated by what he experiences as the societal expectations of black men, tries to channel the power of the white female rocker he imagines within himself. Here's Inner White Girl.
Introduce our musicians as well. This is Marcus Walls on percussion and Mike Petrie on guitar.
On days his blackness feels like another hurdle that won't get out of his way. His inner white girl starts kicking like a baby. She wants to come out and play. She doesn't care if she ruffles any feathers. In fact, that is her MO. Where he's the king of avoiding confrontation, there's not a bomb she won't throw. Because white girls can do anything, can't they? Black boys must always obey their mothers. White girls can do anything, can't they? Can't they? Can't they? Can't they? Some days he feels like his blackness is a treasure that's under constant attack. Hey, 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 hey. His inner white girl protects it from marauders. She always takes him the slack. Hey, 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 hey. She lets him feel like a human supernova, like he could conquer the earth, like he's the heir to the power and oppression her kind have wielded since birth. Because white girls can do anything, can't they? Black boys must always obey their mothers. White girls can do anything, can't they? Can't they? Can't they? Can't they? They get to be cool, tough, vulnerable, and luscious. They get to be wild and unwise. They get to be shy and introspective. They get to make noise, they get to mesmerize. Black boys don't get to be cool, tough, vulnerable, and luscious. Don't get to be wild and unwise. Don't get to be shy and introspective. Don't get to make noise, don't get to fantasize. His blackness doesn't look blue in any moonlight, which makes him harder to see. That's why he clings to his silly inner white girl, the same one clinging to me. We wanna be free, we wanna belong, we want either love or validation, but neither comes easily. So hurts our soul, keeps us in total subjugation. Total subjugation. Wanna make noise, we wanna mesmerize you. Why can't we be cool, tough, vulnerable, and luscious? Why can't we express you our own way? Why
Why can't we unleash what's locked inside us? Who made up these rules that black boys have to obey?
Nice to see you.
Hey, y'all.
So what is your inner white girl saying?
My inner white girl is saying, take a damn nap.
Yeah.
My inner white girl is saying, I'm tired and I need some rest. But, you know, Jaquel is saying, you got a show to do tonight.
Yeah. So here you are. Well, thank you. So I took a stab at explaining the show's structure, a musical theater writer haunted by his thoughts. But what would you say the show is really about?
I think the show is about reality. I think the show is about real life, which is not very Broadway. So it touches on topics that we don't often see 8 shows a week. And it's also the point of view of someone who is in the theater, but is often hidden because they're not the look of what theater's supposed to be or the sound of what theater's supposed to sound like.
So this is your first professional acting job?
Yeah.
You graduated from college a year ago. Tell me what surprises you. What have you learned from doing this?
I learned that though I went to school for musical theater, I missed out on a lot of stuff. And I'm learning it here. There are just some things that, for those of you who are in college or are going to go to college for theater, there's some stuff that they just can't teach you because it might ruin your experience of what you're going into. It's just being honest. It's hard. You do turn into a product at some point, and you have to accept that and learn how to keep the artistry first. But there's a lot of noise that they don't tell you about, and you have to work your way through that noise to just give a great performance every night. Yeah.
So your character experiences so much rejection and pain from family, from the gay community, from the professional world. How do you avoid taking all that brokenness home with you?
Well, see, before I had the show, I had that experience. So it came home with me from high school. It came home with me from church with my mama. But I think I learned how to cope, and I learned how to live a healthy life through all those circumstances. And I also think I just learned my worth as a person and as an artist. But I'm also very careful of not letting Jaquel's experience slip into Usher's. Because it's like, he's fat, he black, I'm black, he queer, I'm queer, we both artists, right? So it's easy to be like, oh my God, this is my story. Oh my gosh, I'm telling them my story every night. And it's like, no, that's not your story. It's similar, so, but it's not yours. Yeah, so I had to learn how to separate this character that I play every night versus who I have to go home and be. Yeah.
So the conceit of the show is that the lead character's inner thoughts are present and speak. If there were thoughts in your head that turned into characters, what would they be?
Ooh. Time management. Sleep paralysis. Those two for right now. Money management. They hear me. But I also think there are those thoughts in me that are encouraging. There are those thoughts that are like, you can do it. Especially right now, I'm really struggling. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really struggling. For the first time, I dealt with allergies. Shout out to New York City. And those allergies turned into a sinus infection. So I was out of the show for over a week because I couldn't sing, and I still have it. So it's like trying to navigate, you too, huh? Yeah. So I'm still trying to navigate doing all these shows with a sinus infection because the work never stops. But I think the biggest lesson was if I am not ready and able, it's probably not wise to force myself because the show's going to be there. And also that's why we have understudies. Everybody wants to hog the role, but understudies are there to save the show. Yeah. So I just learned, like, if I'm sick, go home and rest so that you can give the best show you can.
Yeah. So what's the strangest or funniest thing that you've heard in reaction to this show from like a fan or an audience member?
It was strange, I think, because I was new to the show when it happened. But when we were in DC, and it was after one of our first performances, and there was this elderly Caucasian lady, and she came up to me after in tears, and she said, "You told my story tonight." Y'all heard what we just sang, right? Okay, so I was like, oh, God bless you, thank you for coming. And then, then there would be like someone else who is not anything like Usher, and they're like, you told my story, you told my story. But I think because of the truth that's in this piece, it's so easy to go to theater and see something that has nothing to do with reality, right? It's like you go see a show and it's like, this was cute, but you leave unaffected. It's like you were entertained for 2 hours, but nothing in your life has changed. So to go to a show and to be like, that happened to me. I've been through that. Like, that's what this show does, and that's what I'm able to do, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the show, and thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know, I think you got it. I actually don't know. All right, so I'm delighted that we have one musical revival in the mix today. It's a show called Company. So Company, when it first opened on Broadway in 1970, was about an unmarried man turning 35. Now, with a rethought configuration, it's about an unmarried woman turning 35. In both versions, Bobby, the main character, is surrounded by paired-off friends whose relationships are alternately inspiring and terrifying. The show features a brilliant score by the great Stephen Sondheim, who made it to the first post-shutdown preview of this production, but then died before opening night. One of the show's songs, called Getting Married Today, is particularly noted for how hard it is to sing, but also for the cleverness of its language. It's about a severe case of wedding day jitters. And here to sing an abbreviated version orchestrated just for us is Tony nominee Matt Doyle.
Part of me is everybody there, because if everybody's there, want to thank you all for coming to the wedding. I'd appreciate your going even more. I mean, you must have lots of better things to do. Not a word of it to Paul. Remember, Paul, you know the man I'm gonna marry, but I'm not, because I wouldn't ruin anyone as wonderful as he is. But I thank you all for the gifts and the flowers. Thank you all. Now it's back to the showers. Don't tell Paul, but I'm not getting married today. Listen, everybody, look, I don't know what you're waiting for. A wedding? What's a wedding? It's a prehistoric ritual where everybody promises fidelity forever, which is maybe the most horrifying word I've ever heard, and which is followed by a honeymoon where suddenly you realize it's Santa with the nut want to kill me like he should, so listen, thanks a bunch, but I'm not getting married. Go have lunch, cause I'm not getting married. You've been grand, but I'm not getting married. Don't just stand there, I'm not getting married. And don't tell Paul, but I'm not getting married today. Go, can't you go? Why is nobody listening? Goodbye, go and cry at some other person's wake. If you're quick for a kick, you could pick up a christening, but please, on my knees, there's a human life at stake. Listen, everybody, I'm afraid you didn't hear. Do you want to see a crazy person fall apart in front of you? It isn't only Paula maybe ruining his life. You know, we'll both of us be losing our identities. I telephone my shrinkities, and maybe I should come and see him Monday. But by Monday, I'll be floating in the Hudson with the other garbage. I'm not well, so I'm not getting married. You've been swell, but I'm not getting married. Clear the hall, cause I'm not getting married. Thank you all, but I'm not getting married. And but I'm not getting married today. Go, can't you go? Look, you know I adore you all, but why watch me die when I'm only being nice? Look, perhaps I'll collapse in the apps right before you also take back the cake, burn the shoes, and boil the rice. Look, I didn't want to have to tell you, but I may be coming down with hepatitis and I'm feeling kind of faint. So if you want to see me faint, I'll do it happily. But wouldn't it be funnier to go and watch a funeral? So thank you for the 27 dinner plates and 37 syllables and 47 picture frames, 57 get holders.
One more thing.
I am not getting married.
With this ring.
But I'm not getting married.
Simply said.
Still, I'm not getting married.
Either
See,
way.
I'm not getting married. Let us pray that we're not getting married today. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Rothenberg.
Wow, you want to take a breath?
Yeah, it's always so strange doing that song out of context. That's the scariest that it is, because it's just me and the mic and those words, and I'm like, just hang on, just hang on.
So, that song is so remarkable. It requires you to sing so many words in rapid succession, and still you have to somehow be both clear and funny.
Yeah.
What is it like taking that on, and what did it take to get comfortable with the number?
It was like training for a sporting event, really. I mean, we started from the ground up. First, you have to get the muscle memory of the song down and really make sure that the words are with you. I mean, with you and ingrained in you. And then from there, we started to layer on the thought. And that's where Marianne Elliott really came into play.
The director.
Yes, our director, our brilliant director. Yes. Who layered in all of the color. And she wouldn't let me have a single run-on thought. Everything had to be triggered by the thought before, and she had to see it. And that was a new part of the training that I really had to take on. And so, for instance, part of me is everybody there, because if everybody's there, I want to thank you all for coming to the wedding. Those are 3 different thoughts, and that's how complicated it got with her. And I was a little impatient at first, because I just wanted to get through the piece, and we would stop every 2 seconds and make sure the thought was there. And then Stephen came into the room and added his wisdom, which was speed. Steve was big on the speed and making sure that the speed was there, and said it's easier if the speed is there. And then we layered in the pretty wild physical comedy that is in the actual production as well.
So do you ever trip, get tongue-tied?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And at first I was so frustrated when it would happen, because it happens if there's like just a little bit of spit or if I have to burp. So I always just tell myself, you know, spit happens and that's okay, and take a breath. I've never gotten completely off though. I usually just trip a little bit within the rhythm, and I'm sure now that I've said that to you, there will be a huge crash and burn tonight.
So you've done quite a bit of musical theater. Yeah. For you as a performer, what is distinctive about the work of Stephen Sondheim?
He writes for the actor. I mean, really, truly. Every single note and word that he writes is there for a reason, has intention, and that makes him very Shakespearean. And I think that it's so easy to dive into his work because it's all there on the page. And I know that as an actor who trained in classical theater and believes in text-based work, and I know Marianne Elliott feels the same way, that's thrilling. I mean, that it's all offered to you within the song and on the page. It's so exciting to be able to take that on and go through his madness and into his brain and his genius.
So Sondheim was a big supporter of this production. Can you talk a little about his relationship to it and how his death affected both the cast and the run?
Yeah, we were so thrilled to be working with him so closely throughout the production. He was there with us in the 2020 rehearsals, and then we didn't see a lot of him when we came back from the pandemic. We were supposed to open on his 90th birthday back in 2020, and he came back and sat in the audience with us on our first preview, and it was the first time a lot of us had seen him in over 2 years, or close to 2 years. And it was so emotional, and I know a lot of us had a hard time delivering our songs that night because it was very just frightening to stand in front of him and want to make sure that it was a perfect moment for him. And I'll never forget watching him stand at the end of Getting Married, and he came up to me at the end of the show as well, and he really loved George Firth's work and believed in these scenes so much, and the scene that follows Getting Married today is just a gorgeous, really emotionally complex scene that happens, and there's one line at the end that is, "I'm the next bride," and he always said to me, "I want you to scream that up to the rafters," and I was never doing it the way he wanted in the first set of previews back in 2020. So that night I made sure that I yelled it with every bit of my soul, and I yelled it up to the rafters, and he came up to me with tears in his eyes and put a hand on my shoulder and just said, "That's it, and it can never be less than that." And and I remember that every night. I think it's getting a little too absurd now, actually, but but he believed in this production because of what it was doing for new audiences, and that it was bringing new people into his work, and he believed in evolving his work and wanted to create until the day he died. And we really felt his loss when he passed, because we lost the ringleader, the master that was in charge, really, other than Marion Elliott, who was saying, I want to push it forward.
One of the things that excited him about this production, one of the innovations, is that it changes the gender and the sexuality of several of the characters, including yours.
Yeah.
You're playing someone thinking about entering a same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
It was a potential heterosexual marriage in the original. How do you think that changes the song and the scene?
You know, it's interesting. The first time I was working on the piece, something that I had to recognize that I didn't expect is that I couldn't just do what all of my female icons that have done this song before have done. And there's a lot of unsaid sexism that goes with that too. You can't, as a man, deliver a panic attack the same way as a woman does. People react differently to a man having an emotional breakdown than a woman. And that really caught me off guard and was something that I had to explore throughout our preview process the first time and in the rehearsal room, of how to keep Jamie endearing and likable. And I grew up watching Madeline Kahn, and I grew up watching, Vianne Cox and all these brilliant women do this song. And I had to really just recognize that as soon as I could take it on for myself, as the perspective of a gay man with an anxiety disorder, with an anxiety disorder, and really just bring myself into it, that's when the piece really started to work. And I think that there's so many added anxieties for gay men right now in terms of considering gay marriage and how they fit into this heteronormative institution and what it means for them. They fought so hard for it, but do you just jump into it with this partner that you've been with and everything works? And I think that's what Jamie's feeling is, why do we have to try and make this work for us? And that's a whole new layer to the scene that wasn't there before.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Congratulations. Our next show is a musical adapted from a movie, Billy Crystal's Mr. Saturday Night, it's about a washed-up comedian wishing to make a comeback. We were going to have Shoshana Bean and Billy Crystal, but COVID has interfered. We have Jason Robert Brown, who has won 3 Tony Awards and is nominated again this year for the score. He's going to perform at Farber's from Mr. Saturday Night.
There's nothing more exciting than following an entire stage full of extraordinarily talented singers and actors who've been doing their parts for months, maybe years. And I have been doing this song for the past 6 seconds. I'm already going too fast. I'm going to slow it down because I don't know the words. Anyway, the thing I want to tell you is, at Farber's takes place The show takes place, some of it takes place in the 50s, some of it takes place in the 90s. None of it takes place now, unless you go see it, in which case then it is. Anyway, the point is, it's sort of a strange loop conversation I'm having. This part takes place in the 50s. I'm a little nervous, for Christ's sakes. So this takes place in the 50s at a resort in the Catskills. If you're Jewish, you know what it means to be at a resort in the Catskills in the 50s. If you're not Jewish, it's like outer space. But this is the head of Farber's, the great Catskills Resort Farber's, who comes out to welcome you to his fabulous hotel. Come escape the heat of the city, come where it's pretty, jump in the car here. Why go south? We've got Shangri-La here. Come on up to Farber's. From the Bronx to Brooklyn, they run here looking for fun. Here's your invitation. When you're done, you'll need a vacation. Come on up to Farber's. The Borscht Belt, lovely partial mountain views. The Borscht Belt, like the Bible Belt, but for the Jews. Well, thank you, I got a laugh. All the biggest stars, find them right here. Saturday night, there's always the best here. Some are born and some laid to rest here. Come on up to Farber's. Biking and swimming, hiking, so slimming, liking. Your waiters, most are in dental school, nice boys. Single ladies, you'll find your catch here. Your perfect match here, eager and willing. Makes a living, if not a killing. Snatch him up at Farber's. Now, as your social director, I'm going to explain what's coming up this week at Farber's. I'm going to go minor. Monday night's the luau, where we light the tiki torch. Tuesday, Simon Says, led by our tumbler on the porch. Wednesday is the champagne dance, once your dinner's settled. Thursday's the Mikado, but we said it in the shtetl. The Borscht Belt, where the hoi polloi retreats. The Jewish Alps, the land of cabbage, sour cream and beets, Alka-Seltzer. Pile high the plates on the table, whitefish and sable, roast beef and salmon. Somewhere in the world there's a famine. Come on up, have a blast, meet your mate, break your fast at Farber's.
How you doing?
You came for Shoshana Bean. You got a nice, white, middle-aged Jewish guy.
Yeah, speaking of, I should clarify, Shoshana's out sick, and Billy is just being super cautious, given
Everybody's being super cautious. You walk over to our theater,
us.
everyone's like encased in rubber. It's terrifying.
So this musical was adapted from a 1992 film.
Yes.
How did you go about figuring out what the musical style should be when you started working on this project?
It was really easy for me, actually. The milieus are so clear in this story. You know, sometimes you have to really like dig in to figure out what the music's supposed to sound like. But these are my people. I grew up with this. So when you talk about, you know, something like that, what is you know, a Catskills resort in the 50s? It's like all of us of a certain age, you know, we knew our grandfathers had a copy of Bagels and Bongos by Irving Fields. You know, we all used to listen to that. And the stuff in the 90s, I was actually alive then. And so, I mean, the pulse of this show was very clear to me. I had to make sure that it was clear without sort of being, you know, a nail on the head. I still wanted it to have a sound that it was its own thing, as opposed to just sounding like a sort of a cliche or you know, a pastiche of all that stuff. So I had to walk that line pretty carefully. And In this case, for the first time in my career, I got to work with another lyricist. All of those jokes were actually courtesy of Amanda Green, a fantastic lyricist. She also wrote the lines that weren't jokes. She wrote all of them. So Amanda and I really had to like work together to find a way to give the show its own sound and its own energy while really honoring this stuff that I love so much. It's, you know, at my heart, I'm somewhere between the Muppets and Stephen Eady, and that was kind of what we did.
Yeah. So your star is a beloved comedian, but not a professional singer. How did that like help inform the composing?
You know, I'm also not a professional singer, so it wasn't that hard. You know, Billy Crystal sang those opening numbers at the Oscars, and 100 million people were watching. So I figured he's okay to sing. He's gonna be all right. It's the rigors of doing, you know, a full show and then doing it 7 times a week, and then being a certain age, and you know, sort of catching up to all that. That was all stuff that it's just technical, lining up to that. Singing in character is tricky. And that's the stuff that Billy and I got to work the most on, is sort of how do you take your voice and bring it into this character so he's acting while he's singing, so that's all there. But Billy's, you know, the thing about pros is they're just pros. I mean, the reason he loves this character so much is because this is a guy who knows the business, and he knows how to do it, and he knows how to go out there and kill him every night, and that's what Billy does. So there isn't anything I could have thrown at him that he wouldn't have figured out some way to do. But also, you know, no, I wasn't expecting him to be Ezio Pinza.
Right.
There's like this whole, all the college kids in the front, every reference I'm making, they're all just like, what's he talking about? Bring back the guy from Girl from the North Country. We liked him.
Right. So as you suggested, this musical kind of reminds us of an earlier era of Jewish comedy and an earlier era of Borscht Belt resorts. I wonder how you went about researching that world, if you even needed to, and like what was going through your head as you sort of immersed yourself in that.
I didn't need to. I really knew it. But I will tell you that Billy was also constantly sending around clips that we just, you know, wake up, I'd get a text message from Billy Crystal, which is a cool enough thing, incidentally. Because he's in my phone as Billy Crystal, and so that was, you know, you have a text from, but he, you know, he would be sending stuff all the time from the people who inspired him. He'd be sending Sid Caesar clips, or he'd be sending like some really obscure comedian that he found at midnight on YouTube, and he'd be like, oh, this is what you gotta see. And so he was very clear on what the energy he wanted the show to have was. He knew who he was writing to, but again, the rhythms of it, you know, I'm a middle-aged guy, Jewish guy in show business. Those rhythms I know. That's in there.
Yeah. I want to note that we're meeting during yet another tough week in America after a tragic school shooting in Texas. I know you wrote a song about gun violence following earlier tragedies. I wonder what you think the role is for artists in helping the nation grapple with its many challenges.
Really? What do I think the role of the artist is? I think artists have a lot of roles. I think this stuff is really hard on me. It's been a rough week. What I really think is that we all can do what we can do. I am not a legislator. I am not any kind of politician. I barely know how to speak to people. So I'm not any use at that. I can really do one thing. I do it well, but that's sort of what I'm limited. I can't keep a plant alive. So that's really sort of like, the thing I can do is I can open my heart and I can put it into a song. And if that song is a thing that inspires a person, if that song inspires an action, what I'll say to you is that last night, totally unexpectedly, Betty Buckley and we had always been planning to do a concert for the Clinton Foundation, which we did last night over at Gotham Hall. And the program we had planned out months ago, and the program was a song I had written called Hope. another song called The Song About Your Gun, and No More, the Stephen Sondheim song from Into the Woods. We did not realize, because how could we, that we were going to be singing it in the context that we sang it last night. To be able to do Hope and A Song About Your Gun for President Clinton and for Secretary Clinton and for all of the other people in that room, people who really do the thing that I don't do, people who do make policy, people who are politicians, people who will go out there and try to change the way the country works and sees the issue. To be able to feel like I could make a connection to them was like, okay, that's the thing I can do. I could say those words, Betty could sing them, I could write them, I could play them in a way that nobody else was going to do it that night. Nobody else was going to get up there and speak that way from their heart about this thing. And so I felt like, all right, it may not be much at all, but it's all I got. And it would be stupid of me to pretend that I've got some other gift than that. The artist speaks, and people either listen or they don't, but what other role could I possibly have?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Thank you. So our final show today is Paradise Square, another new musical. It is set in a Manhattan bar in 1863, where the friendship between Black and Irish New Yorkers is threatened by Civil War riots. Please welcome the show's Tony-nominated star, Shakina Kalukango, performing a song. This is Let It Burn.
You have come here, and I know all your names. You really think your faces can hide behind those flames? I fed you at my table, let you all run up a bill. Is this the thanks you give me, how you repay goodwill? If you think I'll run away, you've got a lot to learn. These walls do not define me. I say, let it burn. Inside this little building is a rare and special lot. We somehow found each other, and look what that has brought. A place you are afraid of, a world you'll never know. You can take it in a flash, you can burn it down to ash, then out of ash will grow. If you think we'll run away, you've got a lot to learn. We're stronger than your fire, and I say, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. I know why you have come here, what you want to erase. But I know that our spirit is bigger than this place. Look at what we have created. We gave ourselves a voice. We were safer separated, but love left us no choice. And now all alone I stand at the point of no return. These walls do not define me. I say, let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn. Please give it up for Daniel Edmonds on the piano.
Wow.
It's crazy to sing that out of context, too.
Yeah, amazing. So we have a lot of New Yorkers here. This show is set in a real neighborhood that no longer exists, called the 5 Points. What did you learn about this city while getting ready for this role?
Oh my God, I read like 11 different books because I didn't learn this in high school. And the knowledge of this black community, I mean, the 5 Points is known for its violence, its prostitution, but rarely do you hear about the fact that this was also a place of freedom, of refuge for people, of African Americans who newly escaped from slavery and found refuge in these places. And this idea of these two marginalized groups, the Irish and both the black, that end up getting separated by the elite is a story we all know that keeps getting repeated in our history. We have so many commonalities and they always try to split us apart. And so it was really wonderful to be able to tell this story because it feels so relevant.
Yeah.
Not to mention the draft riots. I mean, not to mention the riots on January 6th. And I found out in May that I was doing this. They offered me the parts. I was like, let's go. This is amazing. We get to use it. Yeah.
So the number that you just sang is the 11 o'clock number. It's the big number in the second act. I wonder how you protect your voice and your emotional energy through a show and what you do to sort of psych yourself up as you know this moment is coming.
Well, this week I've not been so successful. There's a lot of precedent stuff, that we deal with, but I mean, I am steaming, I am downstairs, I am having lozenges in my mouth, drinking water, and just like praying. I pray every time before I go on stage because I don't know what the voice is gonna sound like on any given day, especially on those 2 show days, but yeah, but it always happens, so that's good.
This show depicts an idea of America that might have been, with racial harmony at the bar that your character runs. What do you want people to take away from that story?
If anything, it's to be fearless in the face of injustice. I think with everything that has happened these past years, there's so much that we live in, that we're bombarded with fear. This idea of fear, you need to be scared of the other, you need to be scared of each other. And I want us all to be aware that we are still human beings. We are all a community together. We have to take care of each other and love one another, if we want this community to be better. And so I hope it makes people fearless when they come out, to stand up for each other, because we're all we have,
One of the interesting elements of this production is that it also addresses a chapter of dance history, in which dance forms with both Irish and African histories kind of collide and mix, and many historians believe that contributed to the origins of tap dance. I wonder if you can talk about the function of dance in this show.
Oh, it's its own story.
I think that's the beauty. The dance is also a language of these two cultures, and you see when they merge of just the beauty of what could be, what we can create, honestly, together. When you look at these two societies, and the birthplace of tap comes out of that creation. So I can only imagine what else we can do as Americans from different places, what can be created from that.
So this is your second year in a row as a Tony nominee. Congratulations. Last year's Tonys were a bit of a mirage, lots of streaming, lots of cancellations. This year is like slightly more normal. I wonder what it's like going through this experience this time when you're sort of allowed out into the world.
This feels like the first time because everything was virtual. So I didn't get to experience anything, the luncheon, seeing each other, doing events like these, you know, it's exciting, it's overwhelming sometimes, but I'm so grateful that we're back, that we get to love each other and see each other's work in this way. It's exciting. This is my first time leading a musical, so the fear is in my spirit. And I'm just like so grateful, honestly, grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah. So you went to school here in New York?
I did.
We have a number of students from Juilliard and Princeton and
Come on!
NYU and the New York City Public Schools.
Awesome.
So what advice do you have for kids interested in a life in theater?
Oh, go train, go see everything, live a full life, study everybody, watch people in the street, on the trains. And this is a long journey. It's gonna be very rough. You need support. You need people who can look out for you. There are gonna be tough times. But if this is something that you know you can't live without, go for it. If you can do anything else, do something else.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of our time together. I want to say thanks to all of the artists who shared their time and their talents with us. And thank you all for joining us, both in this room and online. It means so much after so long apart to be in a room full of theater lovers again. If you want an easy way to follow our theater coverage, you can sign up for our weekly theater update newsletter at nytimes.com/newsletters. And if you want to ask questions about our coverage or what's going on Broadway, I think the students are sticking around for a brief talk back that will start in a minute or two, and you're all welcome to stay as well. Whether you're staying or ducking out, thanks again, and be well, and go see some theater.